generated in 2008. You know, so we've been 16 years trying to get back, but yet we're giving folks a 10% raise, which whenever you did it, I'm not sure. But that doesn't stop us from locking in. So that's what I'm asking, is just to have a serious consideration, lock the supervisor's salary into what it was last year, and it'll be more fair for the rest of the board, and more fair, I think, for the rest of the community and the employees who have lost so much that they never got back from 2008. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing at 6:09. Elizabeth, did you want to do an overview?
Okay, there we go. So we wanted to mostly go over the changes from the August 31st draft to the resolution tonight. So in your packet, you'll see the budget, fund balances, the L4029 with millage information, and then the last pages are the changes as they have up. So from the newspaper ad of the public hearing that was published Thursday, November 7th, to this budget resolution, we have made one change. It's to the opioid settlement fund. We originally had budgeted $19,984. We increased it to $24,000. We do have a proposal that's going to come before the board at the next meeting about that to expand our services. So there's also the appropriated prior year fund balance in the general fund. We increased that from $221,000 to $879,000. It's for capital projects only, the appropriated prior year fund balance. This includes stormwater improvements throughout the township and water main replacement in the Civic Center parking lot. Then there were some changes to the special capital outlay ARPA fund. That's 101,902. There was a decrease in expenditures due to many of the jobs wrapping up, and we had a better idea of what to carry over for 2025 budget. And a lot of these lines are from fringes that increased more than we estimated. So for health insurance, we estimated 15%. It was actually 16%. Dental, we estimated 5%. It was actually 5.68%, and that affects every fund. So that's a lot of those. We also decreased some of the expenditures where capital was budgeted. We decided it should be brought back before the board and for a budget amendment and approval, like once it goes out to bid and everything. And we're proud of the budget. We think it overall reflects the township commitment to residents through protecting assets, community infrastructure, parks and recreation, and fiscal responsibility. We're also proud of the budgeted project for youth opioid prevention, barrier busters through the county, COVID tests and masks for public health, and our community engagement department who helps to connect residents to resources. Also on the budget tonight is the Later Shine program for beautification. And we've gotten a lot of compliments on that pilot, and we're looking to expand. Any questions?
Thank you, Elizabeth. Are there any questions on the overview from the draft to the one we have? Hearing none, we did have healthcare increase. We always estimated high at 15%. It came in at 16%, and that was a little bit of a surprise. But it was less than other private businesses. They were 20%, they said, when I was talking to people. So that's good. And we're only going into fund balance for capital. It is not for operations at all. We did have increased needs at the 14B court. And so overall, it hasn't changed a whole lot since last year either. Trustee Swanson, would you like to read the resolution?
My apologies. Whereas the Township Supervisor has prepared and submitted to the Township Board the proposed budgets for the calendar year 2025, and whereas the Township Board has advertised the tentative millage rates in the Washtenaw Legal News and held the public hearing on November 19th, 2024, on the budget and the tentative millage rates pursuant to Section 16 of the Uniform Budgeting Accounting Act, Truth in Budgeting, and whereas the Township Board has reviewed the proposed tax rates and budgeted, and now therefore be it resolved that the Charter Township of Ypsilanti Board of Trustees adopts the 2025 fiscal year budget by cost center as follows. Expenditures: General Fund 101 Township Board, $141,256. 171 Township Supervisor, $337,862. 191 Accounting, $502,990. 215 Township Clerk, $442,655. 223 Independent Auditing, $35,900. 228 Computer Support, $863,977. 247 Board of Review, $3,230. 253 Treasurer, $486,140. 257 Assessing Department, $657,469. 262 Election Department, $190,891. 265 Resident Services, Building Operations, $792,309. 266 Legal Services, $350,000. 267 General Services, $157,700. 270 Human Resources, $467,613. 270, that's what I already said that, sorry. 271 Communications and Public Relations, $142,981. 272 Other Functions, $607,771. 287 Court Due Process, $525,000. 445 Stormwater and Drains at Large, $583,225. 446 Highways and Streets, $674,000. 602 Public Health, $170,000. 701 Planning Commission, $10,648. 702 Zoning Board of Appeals, $5,095. 703 Community Development, $399. Sorry, skipping. I don't know if I have to say that each time or not. 729 Community Stabilization, $1,085,000. 752 Residential Services Administration, $74,134. 770 Residential Services Parks and Grounds, $1,097,445. $1,097,445. 901 Capital Outlay, $5,573,149. Capital Outlay ARPA, $3,338,578. 999 Other Financing Uses, $1,282,012. And that's the total general fund expenditures departments, $20,912,429. Fire Department Fund 206, 269. Civil Service Commission, $145,744. 336 Fire, $5,242,000. $1,646. 901, capital outlay, $188,500. Total fire budget fund by department is $5,576,890. Do I have to, that's it? There's this whole other page.
The Parks Fund is, 9,220, that's okay. I mean, it's your
Going,
first time.
you want me to go?
BSR 213, $1,995,197. Fire pension OPEB is $1,306,795. Fire special millage fund is $85,000. Environmental services is $3,957,053. Recreation is $976,434. 14B is $1,865,411. The building fund is $949,947. The Local Development Finance Authority is $78,485. Hydro Station is $814,263. The law enforcement, which includes sheriff's services, community engagement, and ordinance, is $9,050,555. Opioid settlement is $24,000. Nuisance abatement is $51,077. Debt 2006 bond is $234,310. Golf course is $991,954. Compost is $802,097. Motor pool is $419,799 for a total of $50,100,916. We need a motion to approve the budget.
So move. Peterson.
Motion Peterson,
Support, Hunter.
support Hunter. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On the consent agenda, we have the minutes of the October 15th regular meeting, statements and checks, treasurer's report. Motion Eldridge,
Support Swanson.
support Swanson. Questions or comments? Thank you, Elizabeth. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We voted on the treasurer's report already. Attorney's report, is there any general legal update?
Madam Chair,
Briefly?
I know there's a long agenda tonight, but in order to, I know as we're approaching the end of the year, the township continues to have a great deal of economic development coming our way. All of you have seen the Aldi's that's almost nearing completion, and we believe that's going to open sometime in early December. I have talked with Giovanna, the county director, in the past, and as you know, that being part of the Seaver Farm, which is part of the LDFA, the tax revenues that will come to the township from Aldi's will then be utilized to pay towards the bond payments on the LDFA. In the past, the township has had to go into the general fund to meet that debt service, but with Aldi's opening to be followed hopefully by Culver's next door, that will definitely help the township meet that debt service without having to use the general fund dollars to do so. I mentioned Culver's is still on track to come. They're going to be located next door to Aldi's. In addition, there's a Holiday Inn on Joe Hall Drive that it's getting closer to coming to the Township Planning Commission. That's a four-story hotel that will be built behind Leo's. And you also have another hotel scheduled on Michigan Avenue, West Michigan Avenue, the Comfort Inn. It's another four-story hotel, along with the Sheets Fuel Center. They've received a lot of publicity coming to Michigan, primarily from Pennsylvania and Ohio, and there's a lot of excitement about Sheets coming to West Michigan Avenue. In addition, right now the HR continues to myself and the supervisor, we continue to have ongoing negotiations with the TPOM and to be followed by 14B and the Teamsters contracts. In regards to 14B, we have worked out a final approved contract for the 14B District Court security. This is being paid for by the $5 million grant that was received from the state of Michigan to make the renovations and improvements to the courthouse that's been long overdue. We think we have, the township has a great team in place with JFR Architects to oversee this project, and Braun Construction was the lowest responsible bidder. And Stan Eldridge is the project manager in conjunction with 14B Court. Lorraine Washington has also spent a great deal of time fine-tuning this project, which should last about 9 months. And we're excited for this to get started. In fact, it'll get started maybe even during the Thanksgiving break. There's one item I do want to take a moment, because I would be remiss if I didn't at least bring it up, because it's been going on since the last, I guess, 6-7 weeks. And it has to do with an incident that occurred here at the township on October 8th. And what happened here on October the 8th has also had an impact upon, I think, not only the township board, but all the township employees as well, and the ongoing efforts to address, or at least have accountability. And that's a word that I know is used an awful lot, but I guess it means different things to different people. What I'm referring to is that on October the 8th, when one of our employees reported to the maintenance shed at 6 o'clock in the morning, there was a person there who did not belong there, who got out of the car and pulled a gun, pointed at the employee, and threatened to shoot him. The employee was able to keep his wits about him and at least talk the person down, in his words, and he left. Well, once the other employees arrived, they were able to make the 911 call, and that person was arrested that morning by the Washington County Sheriff's Department and was arraigned on a number of felony charges, including felonious assault, carrying a concealed weapon, and also being a prohibited person in possession of a firearm, as well as ammunition. The firearm I'm referring to is I'm not an expert by any means in regards to weapons, but it was a black 380 Black Ruger LCP, capable of having magazines, 6 rounds per magazine. Also recovered was 2 boxes of ammunition, of each box containing 50 rounds or 100 rounds of ammunition. Well, from that point on, the issue of accountability plays out this way. The person who committed this crime against a township employee had been convicted of criminal sexual conduct, 1st degree, involving a minor. I can tell you, from my 47 years of being an attorney, I think criminal sexual conduct, 1st degree, involving a minor is probably the most heinous of offenses. This person spent 9 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections, was paroled, placed on a tether, and the tether was cut off by him, and he was convicted of doing that and given probation for that felony offense. So at this point in time, this person is now in the criminal justice system. Myself, Supervisor Stumbo, Treasurer Eldridge, made a commitment to the employee as well as all the other employees here to follow this case through. It needs to be involved in this, because if you haven't been part of the legal system, it can be confusing, it can be overwhelming, and it can be at times very, very frightening. So we made that commitment. The one charge that was lacking in this case, which continues to be one of those matters that continues to at least, haunt myself and I think others, is why did the prosecuting attorney not charge this individual with a felony firearm? Now, a felony firearm charge is a statute that's been on the books for over 40 years. And that crime of felony firearm means that if you decide to use a firearm and commit a felony while using that firearm, that is the charge you are handed with or can be charged with. And the significance of that is that it carries with it, upon conviction, a mandatory 2 years in prison. That mandatory 2 years is not subject to good time. That mandatory 2 years is to be served consecutively with whatever sentence you receive for the other felonies you committed with the firearm. And so at the probable cause hearing, one was on October 17th and one on October 31st, we had talked to the employee who was prepared to go to court and testify at a preliminary examination, if so required. While we're there on October 31st, myself, again, Supervisor Stumbo and Treasurer Eldridge, the case was called. In a matter of a minute or two, the case is bound over to circuit court on the 4 original charges, but at no time was there any effort to add the charge of felony firearm, which quite frankly should have been the very first charge. That's what started the whole scenario. I asked the prosecuting attorney, why not? Why did you not charge felony firearm? They simply responded that that was the agreement they had made. The victim was not consulted before that decision was made. The victim has since resigned from the township. But I, again, making that commitment strong that we were going to follow through and try to find out why not. So I wrote a letter, 2 letters, to the prosecuting attorney asking why you did not charge this individual with felony firearm. And I guess that's not only a question that I've raised. I've talked to attorneys throughout this county. I've talked to law enforcement officials throughout this county, other than just our own sheriff's department. And it's a common refrain that has been heard throughout the county. It's not utilized. Very seldom is it utilized. And the reason why I talk about accountability is that we have record firearm violence right now going on in Washtenaw County. There's more firearm violence going on in the last number of years than I can recall in my lifetime. And obviously right now, it's something that I thought everybody was just taking very, very seriously. And so you can't not take it seriously if you're not going to send a message that if you commit a felony while using a firearm in Washtenaw County, that you cannot have accountability if you don't charge that person with a felony firearm case. Now, keep in mind, I said earlier that upon conviction, you get a mandatory 2 years for a felony firearm. If you commit that same crime a second time, it's a mandatory 5 years. Third time, it's a mandatory 10 years. There's a belief that obviously you're trying to send a strong message to those that would use firearms that there is a severe penalty to be exacted if you use a firearm and commit a crime. And I think all of us have seen the effects of firearm violence in Washtenaw County. We've seen the mothers that have gone through lost lives. And this could have very easily, this event on October 8th, this could have very easily gone south quickly had it not been for the reaction of our employee who was able to at least cool the temperature down enough to where other people arrived and the person left. Law enforcement can only do so much. They can find the person, they can arrest that person, they can recover their weapon, they can recover 100 rounds of ammunition, they can recover 2 loaded magazines, but they don't have the authority to charge a person with felony firearm. That lies with the prosecuting attorney. So when we challenged that, I challenged that, they had a hearing that was scheduled on November 14th. That was abruptly adjourned to December the 5th. And I have continued to make that request to add this charge, not because he's a township employee. I mean, I think right now I wasn't aware myself that it wasn't being utilized in this county because sometimes it gets confusing because there is a charge of a felon in possession of a firearm. That's not the same as felony firearm. And that's where it gets a little bit confusing for a lot of people when they don't know the distinction between felony firearm and a possession of a firearm by a prohibited person. Used to be the felony possession. So I'm just making the board aware that that commitment that was made to the employee and to the employee staff is still going to be honored in a very vigorous fashion. I have continued to call upon the prosecuting attorney. It's not too late to do the right thing. You can still make that charge. You can still, if the defendant wants to go back to the district court and have a preliminary hearing on that charge, that would be his right and opportunity to do so. But you can't have, in my opinion, a county that's committed to interrupting gun violence and trying to eliminate the senseless deaths that we occur unless there's a strong message sent that if you use a firearm, that you're going to be charged with felony firearm. And I give all the credit to the employee and to Lieutenant Teets and the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Department for their efforts to make a quick arrest of this individual. But at the same time, they've done their part, and now the rest of it lies in the hands of the court system and the prosecuting attorney. But I know I intend, as well as the supervisor, Stan, anybody else from the Township Board, we intend to be at the next court hearing on December the 5th. But I didn't mean to take that much time this evening, but it's one that I think is owed to the employees because a lot of people have asked the question, what's going on? What's being done about this? How can we hold that person accountable for what they did to one of our township employees? So thank you for listening, and again, I'll continue to update you in my letters as I have in the past, but this is one that has been on our minds since October the 8th.
Thank you, Mr. Winters. Any questions or comments? We have installed additional lighting and looking at additional cameras it's my first time in 36 years something like this has happened, and it shook the employee and it shook the employees who worked with this person as well as all of us when you feel a little unsafer. So we're going to try to make it safer and keep going to the hearings and supporting the justice for our employee. Under old business, we have the second reading of Resolution 2024-14 regarding proposed ordinance 2024-509. It's an amendment to Charter 62, Section 106-229 of the Code of Ordinances, Industrial of the Charter Township of Ypsilanti, Municipal Sewer Use, and Industrial Waste Pretreatment Ordinance. A motion is in order?
So moved.
Motion Eldridge. Support Swanson. Mr. Blackburn?
Good evening, Supervisor Snubble, members of the board. So as we discussed at the first reading of the use ordinance, the ordinance is basically the do's and don'ts of how wastewater is introduced into the system, what can be discharged, what cannot be discharged. The main drivers for this revision is implementation of what we call a special allocation program, which is really just a redistribution of some of the capacity at the wastewater treatment plant. Historically, the treatment plant had utilized the most conservative method of allocating that capacity. The best way I can explain it is everybody gets the same amount when it's available. This is one of the more business-friendly methods that is approval by the state of Michigan, which allows us to uniquely identify and put certain capacity on the shelf that is specific for certain industrial users. It does not change the amount of pollutants that come into the treatment plant or the water that is discharged from the facility. It just has to do with how we allocate it in the system. Another major driver for the revisions has to do with EGLE requirements that started back in 2018, but they required that we implement various limits for PFAS compounds. So those are being implemented into the ordinance. 5 different limits for PFAS compounds, some revised limits for toxic pollutants, introduction of 2 new toxic pollutants, one that had been in there previously that's back in again, introduction of available cyanide, which has never been in the use ordinance, and mainly some other housekeeping tools for the YCUA to ensure that the collection system and treatment plant is properly protected. And welcome any questions.
Are there questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Under new business, we have the request to waive the financial policy and approve UIS as a single source to provide services as listed in the quote for spillway gate programmable logic controller isolation at the hydro station in the amount of $27,995. A motion would be in order.
So move, Peterson.
Motion Peterson, support Eldridge. Hi, Michael.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. So this request is being driven through just performance and safety. When we did some analysis through the programming, we realized that the gate controller was talking to the hydro controller, and if that communication was severed, both systems would be completely inoperable. So this I guess I'm going to call it a patch or isolation project will correct that.
All right. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item, to Michael, is request to approve a professional services contract with Aries of EAU, Clare, Wisconsin, for services outlined in the Aries proposal dated August 20th, 2024, to complete the Part 12 comprehensive assessment for the hydro station in the amount of $340,000 and $2. Budget in line item 101-902-981-110 and $49,598, which is budgeted in line item 252-535-801-000 for a total amount of $389,600.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge.
Support Swanson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This request is something that we've been working on it for many months. We went out to advertisement on Mitten and requested proposals from firms that do dam safety work. In the first round, no one would bid into it. After we investigated why, they said it was our timeline that the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission set for us. So we went down the path of trying to get that timeline changed. Still, some firms were hesitant to submit. So we only ended up with the 2 proposals, one from Stantec, one from Aris. And going through, I asked our engineering to do a overview to see which one was better or worse and what the pros and cons were between the 2. Both proposals based on BAR's assessment would be fine. And after I dove into the details and the, as I call it, the fine print, some of the work that Stantec would need to do the work, we would have to have a consultant do as an extra. So I went back to my team at BAR to find out what it would take to complete those assessments. So the total project to have Stantec do the work with BAR as the supplement work was done was actually more than what Aris said they would do all the work. So that's why it looks like Aris has actually cost more money, but once you factor in the BAR's supplemental work, Aris or Stantec costs more. So that's my recommendation, to use Aris.
My understanding, they just completed French Landing.
Yes, Madam Chair. Yep. So they just finished up French Landing there in Belleville. So
They have a lot of data, right?
yes, and that part of the work they needed to do involved part of our watershed. So that gives them kind of a baseline already to start and build on.
Mr. Winters, have you had the opportunity to review this?
I've not reviewed the contract in detail. There are a number of provisions that are going to have to be revised. So I think the recommendation was to approve it contingent upon.
Yep, that would be fine. We would go through it and make any changes. I don't foresee any issues with any proposed changes that you'd need.
Is that a friendly amendment?
Yes.
Trustee Swan? All right, so the friendly amendment adds attorney review on it.
Yep, that'd be fine.
Any other questions or comments regarding this? It's a FERC requirement.
Yes, it's not something that we could not, or we can postpone. It's required. It is a multi-year process. It will start in 2025 and then go through spring of 2027.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 3 is a request to authorize property sale located at 1609 Outer Lane Drive and 1619 Outer Lane Drive.
So moved.
Support Peterson.
Motion Eldridge, support Peterson. Discussion? Mr. Winters, this is it.
Brian has been working hand in glove on these property sales. So Brian, go ahead.
Good evening, Brian McCleary, Deputy Assessor. So this is just coming back to the board. We've gotten prior permission from the board to negotiate a sale of the property. And so we've met with the owner or with the purchasers and negotiated a sale. And so now we're coming back to the board for final permission to close the sale, which includes approval of the resolution, signing of the deed, and signing of the purchase agreement.
This property is 1609 and 1619 Outer Lane Drive. Mr. Engel and Kinley Engel are going to be building 2 homes on these properties. In the agreement that is before you, which they've already signed, these properties are not going to be utilized as rental properties. I think Mr. Engel has already built one house already, I believe, over on Devonshire. Am I saying
Yes,
that?
that's correct, for his son.
And again, is wanting to build residential properties on township vacant lots that are available for purchase for family members. And I believe he's shown good faith in what he's done in the past. And this one here is the latest agreement or the second agreement we've had with them in regards to moving forward. And township has a lot of parcels out there. We're trying to maintain and mow, and a lot of money's been spent trying to do that. So get these off our backs of the RSD, as well as allow them to be actually on the tax roll.
That's correct.
I want to thank you, Brian, too, for all the properties that you have brought forward, and we'll just keep doing it until we can get them back on the tax roll and housing for people, as well as not having to maintain it and mow it when the grass gets long and stuff like that. So,
That's a goal.
yes, it has, but you've done a great job. Thank you for that. We have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 4 is a request to authorize property sale located at 1751 Smith Street.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge. Support Swanson.
So this is Similar situation, the Hensleys on Smith Avenue. We got permission from the board to negotiate a sale. This is a 40-foot lot. It's not buildable, and it's their intent to build a garden, so they just want to have a side lot. So we negotiated a sale, and so we've come back to the board to request permission for finalizing the sale, signing the resolution, and the purchase agreement and the deed.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 5 is a request to authorize the property sale located at 1293 Holmes Road.
And this 1293
Motion,
homes.
is it motion, Eldridge?
Peterson.
Support Peterson. Sorry, Brian.
Excuse me. So 1293 Homes is, this is this property that this is the third go-around of trying to sell it. There is the house next door, there's actually a fence going over on the line, and so we've been trying to correct that for a number of years. The purchaser has agreed to buy it and limit that they want to build a garage, and so they're agreed that they won't build more than 2 houses on it's a 1-acre parcel, but I don't think it's their intent at this point to build any more houses. They want to build a garage and a garden, and so we're coming back to the board to get final permission to close the sale with the resolution signed and the deed and the purchase agreement.
Questions or comments? Mr.
Madam
Williams?
Chair, I would say, just adding what Brian said, I know at some of the previous meetings, some of the trustees wanted to make sure that the lots are going to be utilized for single-family homes. And again, this property for $26,280 is right near the Holmes Elementary School, and it's been, like Brian said, the subject of various purchase agreements that have fallen through in the past. These 2 individuals are going to buy the whole parcel, which is 0.93 acres, and finished to allow them to build that garage, as Brian indicated, but more importantly, also restrict this to 2 single-family homes that would not be rental properties, and come back to the Township Board. And again, I think it's just, the funds from these sales, I believe, were previously directed to be put into the one account the Township Board established, I think, when we sell property, like we did with Culver's and other properties. So, again, that's the genesis behind the agreements, is to try to sell these vacant parcels and have actual home ownership result from that.
So the total for these 3 was over $44,000, so that's good. And again, Brian and Doug, thank you for doing that. We have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 6 is request authorized to increase golfing rates for the 2025 golf season at Green Oaks Golf Course. Kirk is here. Need a
moved.
motion? Okay.
So moved.
Support Peterson.
Motion and support. Hi. Hi.
Good evening.
Is it not on?
Maybe I'm just not loud enough. No. Good evening. Based on where we're sitting competitively with rates, looking to increase the 18-hole fee by $2 and the 9-hole fee by $1. This would also include a $1 increase in league fees. This price will make us competitive with the other courses around, but given the condition the golf course is now in with Will and his staff, we are definitely going to be one of the best values around and will continue to be.
Thank you, Kirk. Are there any questions for her? Great job this season. The team has really done a great job. And like you said, the course looks great, and we've had no complaints. So thank you for your efforts and your team's effort.
Thank you very much.
We have a motion support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item is Resolution 2024-16, which is the establishment of the Township Supervisor salary. Trustee Swanson, do you want to read it, or do you want me to read it?
Charter Township of Ypsilanti Resolution Number 2024-16, establish 2025 Township Supervisor salary, whereas according to MCL 41.953, the salary for the elected officials shall be determined by the Township Board, and whereas Teamsters, TPO, AM, salaried employees, deputies, and elected officials have a 3% increase plus longevity budgeted in 2025, now therefore be it resolved that the 2025 salary for the office of the supervisor effective January 1st shall receive an increase of 3% on their annual base salary, going from $96,472 to $99,367, plus longevity in the amount of $2,635, and recognizing the annual car allowance of $6,000 per year since 2018, and bringing the total 2025 annual compensation of the supervisor to $108,001.
A motion is in order.
So moved, Peterson.
Motion Peterson,
Support Swanson.
support Swanson. Questions or comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is Resolution 2024-17, which is the establishment of the township clerk's salary.
Charter Township of Ypsilanti Resolution Number 2024-17, establish 2025 Township Clerk salary, whereas according to MCL 41.953, the salary for elected officials shall be determined by the Township Board, and whereas Teamsters, TPOAM, salaried employees, deputies, and elected officials have a 3% increase plus longevity budgeted in 2025, now therefore be it resolved that the 2025 salary for the office of the clerk effective January 1st shall receive an increase of 3% on their annual salary, going from $96,472 to $99,367.
A motion?
So moved.
Motion Eldridge,
Support Peterson.
support Peterson to approve the establishment of the township clerk's salary. Questions or comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 9 is Resolution 2024-18, which is the establishment of the township treasurer's salary.
Charter Township of Ypsilanti Resolution Number 2024-18, establish 2025 Township Treasurer's salary, whereas according to MCL 41.953, the salary for elected officials shall be determined by the Township Board, and whereas Teamsters, TPOAM, salaried employees, deputies, and elected officials have a 3% increase plus longevity budgeted in 2025, now therefore be it resolved that the 2024 salary for the office of the treasurer effective January 1st shall receive an increase of 3% on their annual base salary, going from $96,472 to $99,367, plus longevity in the amount of $2,236, bringing the total 2025 annual compensation of the treasurer to $101,602.
You so move the resolution? We need a motion to move.
I'm thinking that there's an error because that should be 2025. Am I misreading that part? Where it says, therefore be it resolved that the 2024,
Yes.
it should be 2025.
Thank you. Motion?
So moved, Peterson.
Support Hunter.
There's a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 10 is a Resolution 2024-19, establish the township trustee's salary.
Charter Township of Ypsilanti Resolution Number 2024-19, establish 2025 Township Trustees salary, whereas according to the MCL 41.953, the salary for elected officials shall be determined by the Township Board, and whereas Teamsters, TPOAM, salary employees, deputies, and elected officials have a 3% increase plus longevity budgeted in 2025, now therefore be it resolved that the 2025 salary for the office of the Township Trustees effective January 1st shall receive an increase of 3% on their annual base salary, going from $17,179 to $17,695.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge,
Support.
support Swanson. Questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have to do these every year as part of our budget, so thank you for your patience. Number 11 is Resolution 2024-20, Boards of Commissions.
So move Peterson.
Motion, support Eldridge. Questions or comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 12 is a resolution for 2024-21, Washtenaw Area Mutual Aid Council, which is WAMAC. Our fire chief is at training, so he could not attend the meeting this evening. We approved this earlier, but they want a formal resolution, so this formalizes it.
So move Peterson.
Motion Peterson,
Support.
support Eldridge. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is the Resolution 2024-22, which is the Seaver Farm Drain. Trustee Swanson? Want this?
Charter Township, Ypsilanti Charter Township, Resolution 2024-22, Seaver Farm Drain, petition to locate and establish and construct a drain. Whereas an order laying out and designing the Seaver Farm Drain Drainage District was entered on October 21st, 2024, and whereas the township has determined that the location, establishment of construction, and the proposed drain is necessary for the public health in the township pursuant to Chapter 4 of Public Act 40 of 1956 as amended, and whereas the township will be liable for an assessment at large against it for a percentage of the cost of the proposed drain, now therefore be it resolved that the Township Board does authorize the filing of a petition for the location, establishment, and construction of the drain. Be it further resolved that the supervisor is authorized to execute the petition for the location, establishment, and construction of the drain. Be it further resolved that the clerk shall forward to the Washtenaw County Water Resources Commissioner a copy of this resolution for the petition for the location, establishment, and construction of the drain. Do I say that at all? So moved?
Support.
We have a motion and support. This Seaver Farm Drain is currently under the township's jurisdiction, and this will put it under the Washtenaw County Drain or Water Resource Commission, and therefore maintenance will occur, and the township wouldn't have to worry about it. It will be done by the Drain Commissioner, which makes it better long-term for planning and consistency and sustainability. This is located near Aldi's and Culver's and the original Bozel property, which is township-owned land, flows into this. We have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 14 is a request authorization to extend and expand later LAITR beautification services in the amount of $12,600 a month, which is budgeted in line item 266-301-830-004, contingent on attorney review.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge,
Support Peterson.
support Peterson.
Hello,
Hi.
good evening. So we have a proposal to extend the contract. So Shine has employed 4 to 5 justice-involved individuals since March 17th, 2024. They continue to service the 5 designated zones in Ypsi Township and have made notable progress. So we have 2 revisions. The first one, we request that the current contract be extended through the rest of 2024 due to our ability to continue with beautification tasks during colder months when there is no snow. Additionally, we will continue to operate in the same way, whereas if we are unable to work a few days due to the weather, we will make up those hours in the following weeks. The second revision is that we request a transition from a pilot contract to a standard annual contract or 2-year contract starting January 2025, bless you, due to the notable progress and satisfaction in the work our crew is doing. With this contract, we are requesting the addition of these areas, add Grove from Service to Rossonville, add Bridge Road from Grove to Textile, add Wired Road from McCartney to Rossonville, add Huron Whitaker from James L. Hart to Textile, and Morgan from South Huron River Drive to Stony Creek, behind the Kroger. With these additions, we estimate needing an additional 30 hours per week, additional 120 hours per month, so it's 105 total hours per week, 420 total hours per month. This would increase our contract from $9,000 to $12,600 monthly. Thank you.
Thank you. Just give your name for the record.
Oh, yes. I'm Elise Boyle
Thank
from
you.
Shine and Later.
Questions or comments?
I have Madam Chair. I want to say Mother Chair. Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just want to commend these guys. They have really done an outstanding job cleaning the streets, the neighborhoods. The neighborhoods. So you're increasing it from 12,600, but you're also adding more services.
Correct.
Yes.
Area. So I just think they do a good job. I have seen their work driving through the areas, and just so happy.
Well,
to give
thank
you my
you.
vote. Thank you.
Thank you. I
Other
appreciate
comments?
that.
Trustee
I also
Swanson?
want to say, I also want to say I'm grateful for this too. I've actually seen them out working and then seeing people driving by and actually honking their horns and waving at them. So I think the community is excited about the work that they're doing. And so it's exciting to know that we can possibly extend this.
Well, thank you. They are very, truly so happy and appreciative. Very love when you guys drive by too. So.
Yeah, I always toot my horn, yeah. And we've heard at many neighborhood watch meetings,
Yay.
the thankfulness and that people are coming up to the workers and actually complimenting them and thanking them for the great job that they're doing. There's nothing more rewarding than seeing the work of your labor, right? And
Yeah.
people, this was a pilot, and you're an occupational therapist, correct?
Yes.
What a great way to help people transition, and it's been just a positive light in the township. And we had a community work program for many years. We don't have that anymore, but so this has taken that place of that, and nothing but praise. And
So happy.
one of the workers actually did a mural in the building and did a great job on that, and they're so happy and pleasant, and thank you for the opportunity to partner with you on this.
Oh, well, thank you. There's a lot of upcoming fun ideas that they have coming, so stay
Okay.
posted for progress reports.
All right, thank you. And Lori is also here, and who helped tremendously. She doesn't like me saying anything, but do you have any comments to make, Lori?
I don't know if the mic's on, but I would just like to also thank Later and say that we're getting so much good feedback from the residents here. And I know Elise and Ariana and their team have been instrumental in helping these folks reintegrate back into the community. And in fact, the pilot that you all authorized is offering them other opportunities. They're now working with the city and the DDA in Ypsilanti City. And I think that's just fantastic. If we can, help start these programs and spread the word, thank you all for that opportunity for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Lori.
Yes, some businesses in downtown also reached out to us, so you guys really are huge impact all across.
Awesome. So we have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item is to request to authorize a change order for the Washtenaw County Road Commission 2023 road agreement in the amount of $38,047.44, which is budgeted.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge,
Support Peterson.
support Peterson. Stony Creek is open, so that's good.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 16 is request to accept the resignation of Caleb Copeland from the Planning Commission effective immediately.
So moved Peterson.
Motion Peterson.
Support Swanson.
Support Swanson, and this is out for advertisement as a vacancy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 17 is a request to approve the specially designated merchant license for Floral Futures Inc. store doing business as Norton Flowers and Gifts.
So moved, Peterson.
Motion Peterson,
Support.
support Eldridge. You want to give a brief overview, Mr. Eldridge?
I see Tom is here, so I'm going to let Tom Stimson stand up and see Carol as well. So this proposal is a little bit different than some that we get before us. I'm going to let him explain. He'll give you an overview of the uniqueness of why they're asking for this SDM license.
We're looking to enhance our business as flowers, and we're looking to enhance special occasions. We sell chocolates and Mylar balloons, and what's the better way to celebrate an anniversary or birthday than getting everything all in the same place? Your flowers, a dozen roses, Godiva chocolate, Mylars, and a bottle of wine.
Oh.
It's a perfect bundle to enhance birthdays, anniversaries, new babies.
Thank you.
Tom, can you just quickly go over how, who's eligible to come in and buy this and how you check their ID and everything?
Yep, they'll have to be 21 years or older, and we'll check their ID when they come into our store, and as well as on delivery. After we've delivered it, we'll be able to store the ID to make sure that the recipient is 21 or over.
May I just, are there other flower shops doing this? Because this is new.
Not in our area, it's a unique
Good.
idea.
All right. And the liquor committee is recommending?
Yeah, the liquor committee recommended it. For those that aren't familiar with Norton's, they've been here for well over 50 years, so they're a long-time established business with a great history of serving the community. So we were fully supportive after we heard from Tom and his staff.
Thank you. We have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 18 is a request to approve the Class C liquor license for China Palace.
So this is another one that
Motion is on.
Sorry. So moved. Support.
Motion Eldridge, support Hunter. Sorry.
That's okay. So this is another one that came before us. If the board may recall, same applicant came before us 2 years ago. There were some concerns at that time about ownership of the lease and some previous issues that had occurred outside of our county that were still being looked at by the State Liquor Control Commission. Those appear to have been resolved. We've met with the applicant and their legal staff. We've reviewed it. I have spoken with the state LLC. Once we make a decision here, they will then start their process. They don't foresee anything based on what they see in their records. Again, another long-time business that's been successful in the community, and I will let them explain better if they would like to elaborate on why they're seeking this license.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Salem Saman, I'm an attorney out of Plymouth, Michigan. I appeared before you 2 years ago on the same project. Thank God that since that time, all issues that were raised have been resolved. This is a business that's been around for over 20 years. In fact, the applicant in this case has worked at the place for how many years? He's worked there 15 years. He purchased the business in 2018 and has operated it, and they do a great job. Never had any problems. They also have a SDM license in their name at the location next door. No problems with that. So any questions, we're here to answer.
Any questions?
So Stan, Madam Chair, I heard you say it appears to have been resolved, and then the gentleman said it hasn't been resolved. So it has been resolved, sir?
Yeah, based on what we see in our research that we do here and in speaking with the State Liquor Commission, it looks like the ownership issue is no longer a concern. They've cleared that up, and the proper people who are applying are on the lease.
Thank you.
Other comments? Well, I think it would be nice to have a spirit when you're eating at China Palace, and I know some of the neighbors commented they were excited about the opportunity to come and relax and have something to drink with their dinner or lunch, I guess. I hope it's dinner, but this is a great restaurant, and you've done a great 15 years you've been here. Congratulations, and you're the new owner, right?
Yes.
Well, congratulations to you, and let's keep supporting our small businesses and restaurants and everyone in our community. We have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 19 is a request thank you. Request authorization to approve addendum number 4 to the Braun Construction for the renovation of the IT server room in the amount not to exceed $257,590, which is pending budget amendment, which is later on in the agenda.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge? Support. Support Swanson? Did Travis? Well, oh, there he is. This was bid out as part of the Braun project for 14B Court. It included the IT area, but it was separated because 14B Court received a grant. And I can't explain on everything we're doing with it, Travis, I'm sorry.
Greetings, Madam Supervisor, members of the board. Yes, the IT data room was part of an alternative bid to the original package. Some of the structural issues are being addressed with the actual room itself. I don't want to go into a whole lot of details given, the sensitivity of the equipment and all that other stuff. But there's an enormous amount of electrical work that has to be done with the project, cooling, security, safety into the room, and things like that that need to be addressed.
In the past, there was flooding and a few issues coming down from the rain and coming up from the floor, so it's in desperate need of repair.
It is, and Travis hit on it as well. If we don't take care of this server room, it puts the entire township at risk in numerous ways. So, yeah, it's much needed. And we're getting a better cost, in all honesty, because they're already on site involved in another project, so they don't have to restage and reestablish.
All right, any questions or comments? Mr. Winters, have you reviewed this contract?
Yeah, I think this is maybe the second or third time we have revised the contract since we've been going through this. So I think one came over this evening, as a matter of fact.
So it's contingent upon attorney approval?
I think right now I can sign off on the contract this evening.
Okay.
Subject to the conference call that Giovanna, myself, and Stan had. We're satisfied that this is in keeping with the 14B contract. It's a proper form to be signed by Township Supervisor and Clerk.
We have a motion support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 20 is a request authorization to accept the bid for PPM tree service and arbor care for limb and brush removal services for Ypsi Township.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge. Support Swanson. I know John and Carl Rousey are here.
Good evening, John Hines, Municipal Service Director. With me is Carl Rousey, Compost Facility Manager, and this is a request to follow up on the approved October 1st approval to go out to bid for lemon brush removal service for the township. So we're requesting authorization to approve PPM tree service for this. When bids were opened on October 24th, we did receive 4 bids. PPM on the surface level is the highest at $425 per hour, but as part of this interview process, because this program affects the entirety of the township, all residential homes in the township, and is something that's going to happen at the response of emergency weather instances. Carl was kind enough to interview the companies with me after the bids were open to get a better idea of their, I won't say capabilities, but their ability to handle what we were looking for. And in those interviews, it was very helpful because PPM would give about 5 members per route, whereas the other companies, Limb Walkers and Owen Tree Service, would give 3 or 2 to 3. And with the size of the township, with the size of what we've seen in the response, when this is needed, it's just not quite enough to get the job done. Decima was the fourth, so it was PPM, Limb Walkers, Owen Tree Service, and Decima. And when I spoke to Decima, they said that they would contract out the service, and that's something that unfortunately we just can't depend on in the type of response that's needed. So Carl, I don't know if you had anything to add?
Absolutely. Madam Chair, members of the board, I'm here this evening to support this request as well. We've had great rapport with PPM, as we all know. Our residents overflowed us with a lot of congratulations. The follow-up cleanups after these storms, and I've been part of it. I've been not only behind the truck, I've driven the truck, and I've managed the truck over the years. I know John and I both interviewed all 3 of these individuals. Every one of them is a great company. Owen Tree Service is a great company, but we only felt we were going to get 2 people. And I know for a fact that's not going to work for our township. The other company was a possibility, but again, these companies are both out of Attica, Michigan and Port Huron, Michigan, and they're running satellite yards. These yards could change. If the landowner doesn't want them there, they go back to home base or try to find something. PPM is 20 minutes from our township border. They can activate at a moment's notice. They wouldn't have to come out of Port Huron or Attica or a satellite yard that may or may not be available during this contract. Very well managed company, great rapport with them. Communication is top notch with Brian Dobbs, the owner. The crews, they can step it up. I've had 6 people on a crew. They're very good at their job. I follow through with them at the end of the routes. It's long days when this happens, but I follow through with them, and they've done a spectacular job. They miss a pile from time to time, but they go right back and handle it. If we got any concerns from our residents, they handle it. We've had a couple instances where the truck ran on the grass or the dingo that they utilize to lift a lot of these big piles have caused damage to the yard. They have a whole separate crew that goes out and manicures the lawns. Midvale was one of them. There was a couple other ones that they went out there and they have a whole separate crew. They topsoil it, seed it, straw it. Residents were just overwhelmed with kindness, support, and they liked the services. So I'm in definite favor of PPM Tree. I think they're a very good company.
So if you take the number of employees, it's cheaper.
Yeah, their rate is much more comparable than the other.
Because you cannot do it with 2 people.
Absolutely not.
I did it 2 or 3 days and it about killed me, but there was about 4 or 5 of them out there, with you and our crew, and it's hard work. And then they show up with a grappler and it just grabs it and puts it in the truck, and I'm like, and here we're pulling limbs for hours to try to get it cleaned up. And PPM, the residents were very happy with it. You're right, because they swept and cleaned it up in a way that, and it was during a storm, and they reacted quickly. I don't know the other companies, but the fact that there's not enough workers, we need to have, we're a large township, and we need to have more than 2 workers to do a chipper truck. There's no way. So
It's
I
not
understand.
achievable with 2. It's just not achievable.
Yeah, it's too much.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Trustee Peterson.
John, I guess my question is this just for routine cleanup, or I understand it is like, I think you use them for the storm.
Mm-hmm.
So routine cleanup, how often does that happen? Is it like whenever?
We don't. You mean for
How does the service work?
It would be for storm cleanup. So it would be, again, could affect the entire township depending on the size of the storm, or this year, knock on wood, we've been lucky to not have to engage in their services, but last year we had to twice, and we did an entire township cleanup, and we also did, we did the north side of the township too.
So this is just budgeted for that purpose only? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And the reason why I asked this, we get this question all the time at resident meetings. We just had to go round and round with a lady. How, I guess back in the day, used to do services, branches and all that. And the supervisor tried to explain to her, when the storms happen, people were still cutting down things that really didn't have nothing to do with the storm. They were just putting them out there. So So I wanted to be clear, somebody asked me again. That is for, like, I guess for emergency for cleanup, not daily use?
Correct.
We have discussed, like, doing one cleanup. It came up at Neighborhood Watch. We budgeted for 2 in the current budget that we just approved. If we wanted to look at when our millages go out and maybe shifting and doing something different in order to get one cleanup, Carl expressed to me he would prefer in the fall as opposed to the spring because they're busy doing the compost and getting everything ready in the spring. And so as a board, we could talk about it. I think the residents would love it. They really appreciated us doing it for the storms too. But if we could schedule one annual, one township-wide, then it would be great too. But
That's what I wanted to know.
Yep.
So I know how to answer. Thank you, John.
thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks, Carl.
The next item is request authorization to accept the bid for PPM tree service and arbor care for our biennial tree trimming and removal service for Ypsi Township.
So moved.
Motion and support? Motion Eldridge, support Swanson.
So this is a request to authorize PPM to be our primary tree vendor for the next 2 years for tree trimming and removal service. This is something that is similar in kind to the sidewalk programs that are going to be brought forward after, but it's an as-needed basis, not usually pre-scheduled. So for example, in 2024, we, I believe, did about $9,000 in tree trimming and removal, and this comes up when residents or staff notice trees that are going to pose a safety risk if they're not addressed, if they have limbs that overhang garages. So again, it's something when residents call, and we will call PPM to go and respond, and they'll take care of it in a very timely manner. They're being selected because we have worked with them before, and they are the cheapest of the bids with no travel charge, which really makes the difference.
And this is for township.
Township-owned parks or properties, yes.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 22 is a request authorization to accept the bid for concrete leveling for our biennial sidewalk repair program for Ypsi Township, which is budgeted.
So moved, Peterson.
Motion Peterson,
Support.
support Eldridge.
Request to approve Concrete Leveling, Inc., CLI, for our 2-year sidewalk repair program for the township. This program is one that we respond to residents' complaints of tripping hazards that can be repaired by lifting the slabs to make sure that the is ADA compliant with no trip hazard. CLI is a little bit more expensive than Atlantic Construction, but we are still recommending them because their ability to fix the problem is to lift the slab instead of shave it down. And with lifting, we're able to get a longer period of time of a solution. I'd say each year we average probably about 30 locations. Per this agreement, it comes out to just over $11,000 for 2024, and that was for about 160 slabs over 30 locations. And it is one that residents will call in any time of the year, and our Parks and Grounds team will go assess it. We'll put it on a list, send it to the contractor, and they'll get to it within 2 to 3 weeks as their schedule allows. But we do try to keep them on that schedule to keep it very prompt to eliminate any hazard.
Questions or comments?
Yes, Madam Chair, is this, how are the slabs selected? Is it throughout the township or various areas or?
So these, for this program, are reported by residents or township staff as they're out and about. So what they'll do is they'll submit a work ticket of, one we got today was, I think, for like 2057 Miami Avenue. So it'll either be something that can be lifted per this or replaced, which will be in the next one. So if it's replacement, if CLI is selected, we'll send a list of about maybe 10 locations to CLI. They will go out and assess, send us a quote for repair, or they'll tell us that the slab is too high, they can't fix it, so then we'll put it on the replacement list. And then after we give the green light, they schedule it and then they repair it. And they repair it by drilling in holes into each slab, pumping concrete down so it lifts it to match the grade of the slab next to it. So usually, it says 70 per slab, but usually it's going to be at least 3 to 4 slabs, if not more, because it's, an entire sidewalk issue more than it is just singular slabs.
Other questions or comments? I have one. So if it's 4 slabs and Atlantic is 50 minimum fee per job at $50 a slab, isn't it more cost effective to use Atlantic Construction?
So how CLI has charged us in the past is when it says 400 minimum per job, it's not per location. Per job, usually we send, again, that 8 to 12 addresses at a time. So for them, they've already crossed that threshold, so it is 70 per slab. Atlantic does not level them. They grind them, much like precision concrete cutting does. So they're not able to do as many as CLI is able to with the lifting.
But could they, because they were on both, they're both township businesses too, so that's good. But wonder if you're busy and it's a trip hazard and CLI can't get out there, can we utilize Atlantic to come out and as long?
Yeah, 100%. This is just approving CLI as the preferred vendor, but if they're unable to do it, then we would go to
Yeah, because sometimes
next applicable
if they're on a
company.
big job, then people can't move from that job until later. So I think having 2 and both from the township is great. And I understand it's awarding the bid to CLI Concrete and then utilizing Atlantic if needed.
Yep.
All right, we have a motion support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 23 is request authorization to accept the bid for Saladino Construction for our biennial sidewalk replacement program for Ypsilanti Township.
Move Peterson.
Motion Peterson. Support Newman. That's okay.
So the request is to approve Saladino Construction for sidewalk replacement bid for 2025 and 2026. We did receive 3 bids on October 24th, Saladino Construction, Atlantic Construction, and then Q3 Contracting. Saladino is being recommended due to being the lowest price per slab and, work history at the township. They are required a higher fee per location, but the amount of slabs that are addressed per location, the price is lower per the length of the agreement. So in 2024, with sidewalk replacement, we did just under 35,000. And of that, many of the locations are over 5 slabs, which is their minimum fee. So in an instant that we have, oh gosh, my math's not so good, but I will just say, with having 5 slabs or more, it's going to be 185 a slab, and then there's many locations that are selected that are going to be 6 slabs, 7 slabs. We had one on Valley Drive that honestly was 23 slabs, and it was an entire sidewalk that had basically crumbled away. So when you go with that, looking at it, when you're 185 a slab compared to 300 a slab, it becomes much cheaper to go with Saladino. Now, Atlantic Construction, I did talk to the owner of that company and had a good conversation with him. This is only for the sidewalk replacement. So in those instances where we look at work that's not just sidewalk replacement, we can look at a different vendor. This is just strictly for the sidewalk replacement program.
So when it says 925 minimum fee location, you're saying it means multiple locations. It's not, it's not if I go on one street, you're going to pay me 925 as a minimum plus 185 per slab.
No, so what it would mean is, again, yes, I send them lists just like I do concrete leveling. If they go to a location that only has 2 slabs need to be replaced, it is 925 because that's the minimum fee. If it has 5 or more, then it's 185 per slab. So $925 is their minimum to show up. Past that, then it goes to $185 per slab. And before the meeting, I just, as a reference point, looked at what we did for 2024 and in 2023. And when we send these lists, a good amount of the times, these locations are going to need replacement of 5, 6, again, there's been 10, there's been 11, and then Valley was the big one this year that was 23. There are some instances where 1, 2, or 3, and that's where it's not cheaper, but it all is wrapped in together.
All right, please.
So
Trustee
when
Swanton?
you say a location, can you just explain a little more what you mean by location? Because like if they go into a neighborhood and there's 3 houses, is the location that neighborhood or is the location a single?
The location's usually the singular address. So prior CLI, it was per job, so they consider the job everything we're sending. What Saladino considers a location is a location of work needed. So if we were to send 7200 South Huron River Drive, that is a location. So even if I sent him that list with 9075 and other ones, each individual stop that we send is a location.
Like if they, because this is like if they're going to a sidewalk, it could be a neighborhood, right? So there could be, let's say 5 houses and like 1 in front of each house, we're going to have to pay the $925 each time?
It would be. It's very rare that just one has to be done at a time, but yes, that would be the case.
Then it's 3 times higher than the lowest bid. Why would we do that? I'm just trying to understand why.
Because it's not when you consider that most of these jobs have many jobs that are more than just one location. Because I said, once you break it down to needing 6 slabs, more than 5 slabs at a time, basically, it becomes cheaper to go with Saladino. And that's, again, the case a lot of the time. Not every single time, but most of the time.
But every slab isn't, every address is 925.
No, once you get past 5 slabs, then it becomes 185 per slab.
Yeah, that's what she asked, and that's not, okay.
So I could ask my question again,
Of course.
I guess. So if they report, let's say, to a street, and there's X number of houses that need it, but there's only like 1 in front of each of those houses, are they going to meet the 920? Are they going to have to do the 925 per house because they didn't have, what was the number of how many before? Like you said, it gets better after 3? Is that what you said? Because like typically, like when there aren't that many slabs in front of a house.
They're quite, I mean, there's
usually,
quite a few.
Usually, when I've seen repairs, it's not usually the whole section in front of the house. It's usually like 1 or 2. So I'm just trying to understand, like, because I understand if they're showing up and there's 1 and another one 4 blocks away. I think I'm having a little harder time understanding if they're showing up to because all their equipment's right there. That's the part I think I'm having a hard time understanding. Because it would be it could be 925 for any of them that are under 3.
Correct. Yes,
Correct?
it could. But that's not how it has gone traditionally in the past. Because you're going to usually replace more than 5 at majority of the locations. I guess a good example for replacement is when they crumble. It's not just a singular slab that crumbles. It's usually a pattern of more than 2, more than 3. Same with the raised roof. It's not just going to raise 1 slab. They're going to have to take multiple slabs out to cut the root and then replace at that. And that you look at 300 per slab, after 3, it gets more expensive than Saladino. I could put together a price-by-price comparison of what it would have been for 2024, and I can guarantee you Saladino's considerably cheaper.
I have a question. So if you have a neighborhood and like they were, the other board members were saying, usually it's maybe 1 or 2 slabs. If I understand it correctly, with the minimum fee location, if you have 5 slabs throughout that neighborhood? Or is it 5 slabs at a certain house or, a certain block? Because, most places have maybe 1 or 2 slabs. So am I understanding that there would have to be 5 slabs in order for it to be 185 a slab? Because if it's under 5 slabs at each location in that neighborhood, it would be $925?
That's correct. If it's under 5 slabs, it's going to be $925 per the location. Once it gets to 5, because that's 185 times 5, then it's $925, and then $185 for any additional slabs. So how these are reported is much like the leveling, is someone's going to say that in front of my house, the sidewalk is crumbling, or there's a trip hazard, and then our team determines that it's not a trip hazard that CLI or a shaving company could fix because it's above 2 inches, again, usually because the roots have grown up. So what Saladino will then do is they will go assess it on site, and then they'll let me know what they can do if they can do it, and then I usually give the go-ahead. But a lot of times, again, it's not just 1 or 2 have been raised. It might be 1 or 2 are raised, these 2 are lowered, so on and so forth, and many more affected. Now, there are instances where just 1 is, and then it'd be $925, and in that case, they're not the cheapest. But again, over the amount we send them, which we send them, again, usually a list of 8 to 12 at a time, the same, it's going to be fairly cheaper because where the sidewalks are deteriorating, it's not because of one isolated incident. It's usually because there's been long-term damage that we are not getting the ADA access that we need.
So if it's a location that's 3 slabs, then it's $925.
Correct, but at that point, Atlantic is only $900. And at 4 slabs, Saladino's cheaper, and at 5 slabs and beyond, they're cheaper, and then they're considerably cheaper.
$925 plus a 185?
No, it's, I guess that's a great way to say it, so apologies if that was not stated correctly. After $925, it's $185 per slab, not $925 plus $185. When you have 6 slabs, it's $185 times 6, and so on and so forth. So that's the point where it goes $115 cheaper per slab than Atlantic, which was the next lowest bidder. So when you get to the ones that, again, need 10, 11, 15, it's quite a big difference in what you're being charged per location.
So John, to get this clear. So to come to a neighborhood, to come to a location, it's $925, period. Just to show up, right?
No.
That's not correct.
No, so these are reported once they do the work. Like if it's only 1 slab, 2 slabs, 3 slabs, 4 slabs, it's $925. 5 slabs, it's $925 because it's $185 times slab, $185 times 5, and then beyond that, it's $185 per. So each location is only when we authorize the work. It's not just showing up. It's like once we've said, go ahead and please replace that one.
And the contracts, there's no contract either, so it's really not clear, everything that you're saying?
It's like what we've done before. They're just our preferred vendor when this comes about.
I know, but it's not as clear to me, maybe other people. And then I was looking at the contract, and there's not one, right?
We've not signed contracts for these before. They're just our, again, preferred vendor. And if they're not able to do it, then we ask Atlantic to do it. But they're just what gives us the authorization to work with them when this program's enacted, which again is usually about 5 times per year.
So when it says Attachment A, Estimate Form 2025, 2026 Sidewalk Replacement, where's that at? It's in the packet, but where is the attachment?
It's on the screen right now.
That's the attachment? Is that what?
I mean, that's what their bid was for the job. Yes.
They've done a great job, so it's not about that. It's just having clarity. I understood the other one.
I guess
better?
I'm not sure. I'm happy to provide as much clarity as I can.
Yeah, you can.
We've worked with Saladino on this program for years.
It's not about, they're a great company. They are a great company. They've done great work for us. It's just, it's not clear in exactly what we're approving. And maybe if we had the list, like you said, of 24 and 23, that would like bring more clarity. But on the surface, you're paying $925 per location and $185 per slab. That's all I have before me to look at. And then when you compare it to the other ones, it looks as if it's much higher. But based on the knowledge you have that we don't have, it hasn't come out that way. Yes.
Well, in my mind, I'm thinking if we've got to pay $925, even for them to show up, even if it's 2, I would say then maybe we need to do 5, like replace whatever's there. We should be getting our whole amount worth. You know, I mean, often there might be a crack or something that wouldn't warrant maybe that, but I guess if we're going to be charged anyway, we might as well just replace 5 every time we show up.
Which
Well, my thing is on the wrong one, brand new sidewalks. All right, I'm not trying to be funny, I'm just thinking like.
I'm just trying to understand it.
We're already going to pay that amount,
900,
so
yeah.
why would we not want a product for the
Service.
$925 for the service, right? Then
The difference is this one doesn't have a list, right? Yeah, and they're not sent a list like the other ones.
they are.
So the lists they're sent is more than, like it's a list, it's not just one.
No, they get sent a list of 8 to 10 locations at a time. We usually do 4 to 5 rounds of this a year. So it's sent
And then-
similarly as CLI is sent. But theirs just different that they charge per location that they work on, not per job as CLI does, which is assigned work.
So is there a list already prepared for the neighborhoods for them to go in? Projects for them to do already, or is this just upcoming?
So they've been our vendor for a few years, so they've done everything for 2024. At this point with the weather, barring the weather's been a little weird, but at this point with the weather, concrete work has stopped. So at this point, anything reported now until about mid-March, we're just compiling a list that we'll send to them as round 1, 2025. So that one usually gets kind of big, but everyone turns out about to be the same because what we'll send to CLI that they can't address, we send to Saladino right away to take care of.
Or Atlantic.
Huh?
Or Atlantic.
Sure, or Atlantic.
Well,
Can I ask a question?
please, Mr. Winters.
John, this is, kind of confused myself, but does location equate to address?
Yes.
So it's not, okay, so if it's a 927 Pleasant Valley Road, if they show up there, unless it's 925 to show up irrespective of how many slabs they do in 927 Pleasant Valley?
Correct, if they do less than 4, or 4 or less. And then past 5 and beyond, it's 185 per slab if they do work.
But if they come up, they don't, okay, go back to make it very simple for my mind. They do 1 slab, say, we're done with this slab, we're out of here, that's 9 1/4.
Yes.
Okay. So what Debbie was saying was that, well, you're going to get charged 9 1/4 for doing 1 slab, you might as well do 5 slabs, whether they're in disrepair or not.
Which we can definitely
I'm not
make
suggesting,
that the
I'm just saying,
case.
but that's what.
No, I mean, it makes sense.
Location means address.
Correct.
Why wouldn't they do a list? Because pouring the actual sidewalk is different. That's right, like.
I'm sorry, what?
If you send them a list.
Which, yes, we
And
do.
there's 20 streets, are we paying $925 per address?
we don't send them streets, we send them addresses. Again, it's when these trip hazards or crumbles are reported. So we compile a list just like we do with the leveling.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
So
trustee.
tell me again, John, I think you spoke on a little bit. So do you have a list prepared? Do you have an estimate of how many sidewalks y'all think they will do for 24 to 25, the contract is for? 25, 26?
I say roughly it's 30 locations, and
30.
of those 30 locations, it might be something like 150 slabs. You know, again, that's using similar numbers as I do the leveling, because again, it ends up being the same, just leveling is a lot cheaper because obviously they're not ripping out and replacing.
Okay, so have this company came out and surveyed the area?
They do when we send them the list. So
You sent it, but they haven't came out to look.
they react to what we send them. So again, a resident today sent one for 2057 Miami that said, our sidewalk is crumbling, can you please address
Okay,
it?
so you send them to look. Okay.
We do a work order, so our team goes and marks it, sends me pictures if they don't provide any. I compile the list, and then I send it to Saladino to go
And
replace.
I just have one more final question, I'm sorry. Where it says 925 minimum fee location, and it goes on 300,000 something. So in your contract, does it say that 925 show-up fee, that's what it says here, with the possibility that you have to do at least 4 sidewalks for that fee in your contract?
It doesn't now, but that's something that I can talk to Saladino and make.
Because to me, it's an open contract. If you show up, you're going to get 925 just to show up. Because it says it. The other company, you will get 300 minimum. The other company, 1,000 something. So it says what it says, and I think it might be helpful, this is just a suggestion, to say what it really means, that 925. If you come 925, there should be at least 4 sidewalks you could do with that 925, or as the other trustee said, do some work if you're coming out for 925. Do something. If one's partially cracked, do it.
Yeah, which we can do
What I'm
that.
saying, could that possibly be, language be straightened out just a little bit, maybe? Just a thought.
Yeah, no, happy to. I made it a note here.
So it's clear to understand, because if anybody read the contract, it says what it says. You show up, you're just going to get 920. Can they fight you on that every time? Yes, they can, because the language is not there. You see what I'm saying?
Understand, yes.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
We're probably saying the same thing, but it's, if you can compose a list and the number of slabs at each location that need to be repaired, and then the estimate of that particular project. So if there are 3 slabs, then it's 925, and if there are 5 slabs, then it's 185 a slab. You know, if you have the 30 projects, and if each, you know, how many slabs are on each project?
So that's what they do after I send them the list. They'll go and send their team to make sure and confirm what we send, because our team doesn't know what all needs to be replaced. There's the very obvious ones, of course, that are like, well, yeah, those need to be. But they're going to see some and say, well, if we rip these 3 out, these 2 have to come with it. So they'll send the estimation of the price, and then we say, yes, go ahead. And I do appreciate the companies, because they'll tell us when they can't do it as well. They won't just do it to do it, because sometimes, unfortunately, we have to be cognizant of the driveway aprons to residents as well as the entryways to the street. So, but they do that, so we give the green light, and that's where we see how many they're going to do per location. But I think Trustee Swanson brings up a fantastic point, that we should do then minimum 4 per location if they're going to go there.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair? Yeah. Do you have an estimate, John, or just even a thought, I guess, how much this project would cost us in that year time? Is there some kind of...
He has all that data, don't you?
I have the last 2 years compiled.
How much was that?
So last year was $34,495.
Oh, okay.
Because the problem is it's hard to project. Obviously, we keep everything within the budget, and there has been years where we've said, we're at this part, it's October, we're going to wait till next year. But this is a very reactive program because it's hard for us to have the capabilities to go out to every single neighborhood, every single street, and mark that list.
I have no more questions. It was in that range of money, that's not outstanding money, okay? So it's like 30-some thousand, 40,000 to repair sidewalks. And you're saying that was compared to what that budget was you did last time, right?
Yes.
So I have no further questions.
Okay.
Yes.
I would just recommend that we table it to the next board meeting so we can get a little bit more clarity and make everyone a little more comfortable.
Is that a motion?
It's a motion to table.
Motion Eldridge.
Support.
Support Newman to table to the next meeting.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 24 is a request authorization to approve a change order for the community center bathroom and sanitary line improvements in the amount of $36,152.10 as part of the American Rescue Plan funds. Motion Eldridge.
Support.
Support. Hunter? Wrapping it up, aren't you?
Yep. So requesting for the change order in front of you that is for $36,152.10 for additional repairs needed at the community center as part of the ARPA project for the bathrooms and sanitary project. This would utilize the $30,000 set contingency as part of the project, and then requesting an additional $6,152.10 that is currently budgeted in the bathroom and sanitary repair line. So what this would be approving is a repair to the employee break room as part of the new pathway that they had to put down for the bathrooms and for the locker room specifically to come over to the new line in the 200 hallway. The break room was affected, which was not originally noticed on the scope. So Stantec is only recommending a 50% payment because with the repairs that were proposed, they were able to reroute the line to the new line, but did not include a new cabinet, a new door, some of the things that they put that was not necessary for the work to be completed. The next is for the subfloor demo and replacement for 202. This was something that was found as the new pipe was laid and concrete was poured. When they did the initial demolition and repair of the line in there, they tried to put the new flooring over the existing flooring of that room, and the subfloor was unfortunately in such bad repairs that it created a lot of trip hazards. So this was to concrete pour and leveling, and then put the new floor on top of it. So the entire subfloor in Senior Room 202 is now concrete and level and should last a very long time and be very safe for our residents, especially our 15 Beyond program, to walk on daily. And then the last request was when Decimo was doing the renovation of the 300 hallway bathrooms, they removed an outdated wall heater, and unfortunately the wall behind the heater was not properly framed or insulated, so the excess materials needed to be disposed of, as well as additional framing, insulation, and drywall was needed. So if the proposed change order is approved, this is the final remaining item for this project, and we'll be able to close it out in the next couple weeks, which is very exciting. And I do want to add, even though it's not part of this change order, but just for added clarity, we did ask for an additional $6,000 as part of the ARPA, part of the community center project. But when it comes to the water damage part of the project, which was part of the contract with Decima, we actually signed a change order for a reduction in values. So overall, the contract value is actually, I think, about $5,000 smaller than the township originally signed. But due to different cost centers, the change center had to be brought forward, or the change order had to be brought forward today for approval.
Excellent. Questions or comments? I'm so glad this is so close. And John, you've overseen every ARPA project, and it's just amazing that you've completed everything that you're completing. I know accounting's happy, the budget's happy, and so are the residents, because you don't have to carry the project forward. I've never seen so much capital construction projects being managed, even though we had contractors and overseers, you actually had to manage the entire thing. So this is
Takes a
great
team,
job.
but thank you.
Great job to you. So we have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 25 is request authorization to approve change order 1 for $40,204.14 for the repairs of Burns Park Walkway and playground repairs and West Willow Park Walkway and playground replacement as part of the American Rescue Plan Act. Motion Eldridge.
Support.
Support Swanson. Support Newman.
So good evening. This request for change order 1 with KAB Enterprises for the Burns Park and West Willow Park ARPA projects. The amount recommended by Spicer Group, which Elsie from Spicer is here to answer any questions, is for $40,204.14. The change order request is for additional repairs and scope items for each park. The total goes above the budget contingency of $27,789.50 by $12,486.64. So the change order for any additional funds is that $12,486.64. So we tried to provide the additional documentation to kind of lay everything out, but to kind of split it out by park, Burns Park, the change order request is for additional playground material demolition and removal that was above the original scope, some additional sidewalk that the decision was made on site to do at the time because it made sense while the crews were mobilized there. And let's see. And that was due to sections cracking, and then it was also to add the sidewalks that go now from playground section to playground section, which was a very welcome improvement. So the additional amount for the Burns Park, which is budgeted in that line item, would be for $5,180.49. And I also do want to add, if this is approved, Burns Park is pretty much complete at this point. So again, this would wrap up that project. And one thing they did that was not in the original scope that I was actually very impressed with was, not sure if everyone's been to Burns Park, but where the walkway was on the west side of the park, it had a slope down to the grassy area. They actually shaved the grassy part area down next to the walkway, and it's completely flat, so it's much more usable for families.
Good.
The additional scope requested at West Willow Park is for additional paved sections that were not in the addendum that was provided. Additional demolition to the playground equipment. Because the playground equipment, of course, is underground, the amount of concrete and structure that was below the earth was more than we estimated. And due to that, KAB is going to need to request a bigger vehicle, and it's going to take much more effort and money on their side to transport it and demolish it. And the last part is, unfortunately, we're not able to go with the original playground structure that we went out to bid for, but through much effort and community engagement, we found a very suitable replacement. But one item was additional that was above what KAB offered, and it was one that I would hope that we can go for, and that is a double slide instead of a singular slide. And again, there is a picture in the packet. That's the additional materials. And then, so instead of that singular slide, below it is a double slide that really, I think, helps mold this new design closer to the old design that they did like very much so. So the additional request needed for West Willow Park above the contingency is $7,306.15. It is budgeted still in the line. And if this is approved tonight, I know the equipment was supposed to come in this week, the end of last week, very much around this timeline, and they still do believe they'll get it done before the middle of December. They've done the pathway work, they've reshaped the playground, but installing the playground equipment and then the mulch on top of it's the last thing remaining.
So the sidewalk work you're talking about has already been done?
Yes.
So nobody's pouring concrete now?
Correct.
Okay, good.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
John, I have heard from some residents, and they're very pleased about the parks, I tell you. Heritage Park, I have drove by Westwell, I see this stuff is off the ground. I haven't been by Birds, but thank you. We hope it moves along and can get it done before winter. And that was my next question. How soon? This won't be tied up to spring, right? I know you got a late start.
The hope it's not, and Elsie, you might have talked to KB Morrison than I did, but last I talked to them, they said as soon as it comes in, it's going in the next day.
Getting close to winter, yeah.
Yeah. And when I talked to him 2 weeks ago, and he really said, I thought by the end of last week, but I've not been out there this week, so I can't confirm if it has, and I've not talked to KEB. But as soon as they get it, it's going in. It's
Great.
prepped and ready.
And I've seen the bathrooms. Thanks a lot for your work.
Don't you have to put cement for the equipment?
It will, and there definitely is the concern with the weather actually starting to turn. The KEB has not expressed any concern that they're going to be not going to be able to do it before the end of the year.
For a little, you can pour concrete in the winter, you just have to have protections.
Yeah.
So, it's well within their scope and they can do it.
All right, we have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Budget Amendment 14 is to increase the general fund budget by $258,778 to $27,777,526 and approve the department line item changes as outlined.
So move, Peterson.
Questions or comment? Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. There's no other business. Is there public comments? Hearing none. Board member updates.
Just one, Madam Chair. I just wanted to salute our trustee who is leaving us this evening. It's been a pleasure to work with Trustee Ryan Hunter. We just ask that whatever your next venture in life, that you're successful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry, I didn't move fast enough when you said public comment. Did I miss it?
No, well, you did, but that's okay. That's all right. It was on night.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a public comment about that there are homeless people in Ypsilanti Township, and it's getting very cold. And I was wondering if Ypsilanti Township was interested in creating a line item in the budget to provide either rapid rehousing or shelter or services. I know that this is something that lots of other municipalities in the county contribute to, but not something that Ypsilanti Township contributes to, despite the fact that many folks who are in the township seek shelter. So I just wanted to bring that to public comment.
Thank you for your comment and your name.
Pete Moss Ellis.
That's me. Thank you. Are there any other board member updates? I too want to say it's been a pleasure serving with Ryan Hunter and for the last 2 years, I think it was. And I wish you much success in whatever you do, and I know you'll succeed in just working with you. It's been a pleasure. And Clerk Rowe isn't here, but the election in November was excellent. Angie is here as a deputy clerk, but it went really, really well. And I was proud of our clerk's office, and the residents who voted seemed very happy, and it was a large election, but it was very, very well done. And I just want to say thanks to Clerk Rowe for her service and to the staff for the election that was in November.
Madam Chair, I would just echo the same thing about the Clerk Rowe. She's given 4 good years and committed to the community, and they did do a good job. And for Ryan, who I didn't know 2 years ago, now I consider a friend, and I'll miss you. But I'm sure you'll do great things, and I appreciate your commitment and service to the community.
Motion to adjourn is in order.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned 8:07.
assignments and some of the complaint areas. No, we can't. If somebody can grab a license plate, then at least the passenger guy can figure out where sometimes they have where they drive through, it's a pattern. So they're going to work, they're going here, they're going there. So a lot of times that we can set up, either radar box or we can assign it to we can set up that vehicle travels through the same points in time. Especially like we used to, definitely during the summer months, we get a lot of drag racing. And a lot of times, the same time frame on the same day in the same area. And then we just, yeah, it is hard though. Limited number of deputies, 5 or 6.
Oh, no, I agree. Because South Harris and Grove, a lot of people, the light there, they'll go, Melvin goes on South Harris. And they cut through, basically through there. So it's not far enough to get out of their lawn.
Yeah, yeah.
I know they're working hard.
Oh, yeah. I know, there's a lot of them are so young. They don't have forethought to see what's there down the road.
They're having fun.
Yeah.
So, but I want to thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Have a good night.
You too.